Welcome to Peppershock Media's Marketing Expedition podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in marketing and advertising. Now here's your host, Rhea Allen.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm Rhea Allen, President and CEO of Peppershock Media, and today we have David McCauley and Dave McEwen from the SBDC, Small Business Development Center.
Hi, Ray.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks for joining me today. I'm good.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here. Loved your work with the Supersonics about 10 years ago, by the way.
Oh, fun. The real Rhea Allen, right?
Yeah. Well, you're the real Rhea Allen, too.
That's right.
I mean, it's not like you're fake.
I actually did meet the real Rhea Allen, but my last name at the time was Peppershock, so it didn't quite count.
Your last name was Peppershock?
Is that the impetus of the name?
Peppershock, you got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that like a nickname in high school or something?
Peppershock, kind of, you know
kind of
it.
have to live with that,
You
right?
live with it,
Yeah.
and my full name is Rhianna Peppershock, so that's where that came from. But,
Wow.
Yeah, great.
What a great name.
So let's go with David.
Yes,
Tell
ma'am.
me about what you do at the SBDC. What is it all about?
The SBDC is a federally funded program that runs through the SBA, and we provide free one-on-one coaching for CEOs, people who invent things, people who want to start companies, people who've been in companies for a long time. And it's all provided in every state in the union. And in Idaho, it's centered out of Boise State University, but we've got 6 locations around the state. And my day is basically meeting with people who are starting businesses and working on whatever their issue is at that time. Could be marketing, could be sales, could be operations, hiring, firing, all that good stuff.
Yep.
And Dave, what about you? What do you get to do?
I like the way that you said it. Yes, every state in the union, as well as DC, Guam, outlying islands, is more than 1,000 over the United States. It's a fantastic program that everyone out there that's listening right now, thank you for paying our salaries with your taxes. But yes, as long as it's a small business out there, we're here to provide help, and regardless of what that is. And there's just so much you could get from any SBDC in the world. Our customers primarily are people, like you said, CEOs, people who want to expand their business into something else. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of people out there who are just kicking around the idea, maybe I'll try this, maybe I'll get out of this business I've been in forever. Maybe I've been in business forever and I want to get out of it. Maybe I want to take it in a different direction. Maybe I want to change it completely. All that stuff, you can get all that free coaching and meeting and mentoring at the SBDC. So you asked me what I do. David McCauley, primarily meets with technology clients. He's the head of the technology organization, and I'm part of that as well. But my specialization is to help small businesses that are involved in innovation and design and technology who are looking for government R&D grants from the federal government. I'm the person that can help them find them and then help them create their applications and hopefully win those grants.
To navigate that system. That's great. And from a marketing perspective, what do you do to help businesses grow their brand and bottom lines and all of that?
So the interesting thing is in working with entrepreneurs, they usually have solved a problem, and then they want to go figure out who else has that problem. And then that's where you try to do marketing and sales and those kind of things. So we typically will work with inventors or creators or entrepreneurs who've solved a smaller problem. They want to expand and grow their business. And we talk about everything from who do you think your target market is to, and everybody is never the right answer. Everyone needs my product. It's just never the right answer.
Yeah.
And so helping them refine those choices and then helping them discover where are those people, where can they be found, how can we communicate, and then we direct them to organizations like yours if they need help in marketing or sales or those kind of things. We can't dig in dirty. I can't write your marketing plan for you, but we can direct you to people who can help you write your marketing plan for you and develop those sorts of things.
So you have access to some examples that people could use or templates that they could use.
Sometimes samples and templates. Often it is, let's get you to a professional who we go as far as we can. It's much like if you need a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer. I can get you to a certain place and then get you in trouble. And so before we cross that line into trouble, we direct you to a variety of different law firms and those sorts of things. So it's same thing with marketing. We'll get you to where we can be in trouble, and then we back off and go, okay, it's time for an expert. And that includes social media. I try to stay pretty generic, but we do like to provide direction in those areas. And you're going to talk about the business model canvas.
Am I really?
So I can just see it. I'm looking at it.
We just know each other so
well. If this
well.
were video, it would be there. But that's where I was headed. So that's where we usually start, is with the business model canvas, and I'll let Dave kind of go into it because he's right there.
That's great. Yeah. What is the business model canvas?
Well, let me back up just a little bit. I love the way that he said it. a lot of the people who come to us have already got the brilliant solution in our minds. And one of the things that David has told me that has really stuck with me is sometimes it's our job to tell people that their baby is ugly. We have to tell them, yep, you've got a unitasker that like 5 people in the world would absolutely bend over backwards for, but you're not going to make this into a business, right? So it's refocusing really, really brilliant people who are used to being right into thinking about things in a brand new way.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that we do that is through something called the Business Model Canvas. And you're giving me that.
Well, I was going to say often you folks are great at engineering or whatever they're great at, but they're not great at creating a business. They're
marketing, or they're good at the one thing that they can do, but they need help.
Exactly, and helping them realize and acknowledge that they need help in something that they're not experts in.
Right.
That's kind of a lot of what we get to do as well. And so, sorry, Dave, I interrupted.
And you work not just with startups, but people who have been in business for a long period of time.
Absolutely, I've got a client
right
right now that's been in business for over 60 years, and this is the second generation of that family. Then we just moved the whole business from out of state into Idaho. We just moved all of manufacturing, production, sales, and marketing. And this sounds like a huge company.
Oh, exciting.
It's like 10 people. And we just moved all of that into Idaho. And so that's pretty exciting. And none of them are marketing people. So we're working through that structure.
Yeah.
A lot of people think of what does a small business mean. For my program, a small business is anything 500 or fewer.
500 or fewer.
And you can get up to $499. That's a pretty large company that still can come to the SBDC and get help for free because you still qualify.
It's small to mid-sized small businesses.
Yes.
So the Business Model Canvas is a way to describe an entire business on one piece of paper. It's originally based on a series of books by a guy named Alexander Osterwalder, and it's a way to many times someone who's starting a new business, particularly in the 80s, you had a large influx of people who went and got their Harvard MBAs and how to write a business plan, and suddenly a 40-page document became a 500-page document, and people are spending so much time putting pen to paper that they're not doing the work of actually starting a business, right? So the Business Model Canvas was kind of a reaction to that.
Just a one page, here is everything you need to know.
Anybody who is interested in this can just go onto Google and Google the Business Model Canvas, and there's 1,000 examples of what I'm holding up right now to Ray. It essentially puts everything in a business into 9 boxes
that are like the size of sticky notes.
9 buckets. And in fact, we encourage, we actually give you a full size one that you can post on your wall, and you use sticky notes.
Okay.
Because often you've got various products that you want to do a model for and outline how your business is going to operate.
And where a business plan would be to go into a lender or somebody who might be an investor or something like that and say, here's what we're doing, and here's all the work that we've done.
Here's all the sticky notes.
Exactly. Right?
Does that work in a bank?
Exactly.
It's collateral.
You're going in for an SBA loan, and they don't want to read 400 pages. So this is the idea that you could go to and show, if you, it's the elevator pitch version of a business plan, and it's a really great model for helping those really brilliant people who are fantastic at that one thing to find out where their blind spots are. So when we talked about marketing a little bit earlier, there's a lot of people that will come in and start to fill this out, and they'll wave at the right hand of the canvas, which is customer segments, customer relationships, channels, that kind of thing. Everything to the right of the value prop, and say, well, people will figure it out. I'll build it and they will come, right? And we have to stop them and say, no.
Does that work?
No.
The whole right side of the canvas is figuring out, who has the problem.
Yep.
And then it's all built around the middle section, which is the value prop. What am I doing that solves these pain points? And once we get those engineers, those people, those inventors, those people who think that the world ought to be a certain way, the light comes on. I guess I need to do this in order to give this to those people. Right. And that's kind of where the marketing drops down in.
And it gives them a framework for discovering, especially if you're an engineer and you think very process oriented. This is a very process oriented and design structured document that leads you through understanding what are the core components of my business that I have thought of and that I haven't thought of, and how do I make these things work together.
Yeah.
So it's a great framework. We use it for pretty much all our clients.
Yep. Good. And identifying the resources that they need to have and connecting them with the people that you know.
And all of this stuff is available on YouTube. You can YouTube Business Model Canvas. Where distance happens is in the sense of, we live in the age of information, right? All the information's out there. What people struggle with is implementation.
Yes.
What do I do first? When do I do it? And who's going to hold me accountable for doing it? And that's
accountability,
where
sure, yeah.
And that's where having an external coach like somebody at the SBDC, even if it's just checking in to say, you said you would do these 4 things last week, did you do them? And somebody that you can be accountable to, because if you're a startup person or an entrepreneur, often the person you're accountable to is yourself. And you look in the mirror and go, I'm awesome. Why, yes, I am. And having somebody outside who's really not a part of the business or doesn't have a separate agenda other than your success. And that's a lot of the role that we play, is helping entrepreneurs and people who are getting started be accountable to what they say they really want. And we revisit often this business model canvas to remind them of why we started on this journey in the first place. And are we still on this pathway? Because if not, that's cool. Not my problem.
Yeah.
But if we are, then let's go back to what we said was important when we started. And it's good to have that external resource.
I can tell you, when I first started this business almost 16 years ago, I absolutely knocked on SBDC and scores and all those different, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't ask questions, then you're going to be blind to what you need to know.
Exactly.
And so certainly
Can that be expensive? Can that be expensive, Ray?
Yes. You can learn the hard way, or you can learn from others who have already been there and done that. And absolutely is a great tool to be able to use, and it's for free. So I think that's amazing.
We talk about fail early, fail fast, and fail cheap. Before you spend your retirement on this thing, let's figure this out.
Right.
And then we can dial it in as we go forward. Then you can spend more. If it's working, spend more.
And I want to make sure that we're really accurate here. There's anyone who comes into the SBDC and gets hooked up with a business counselor or a coach will be able to go through this with them. Absolutely. The place where you can really dive deep in this is a class that we put on. It's a 10-week class. It's the Sprint. What's it called again?
Lean Essentials
Lean
Sprint.
Essentials Sprint. And it was the first thing I did when I got this gig, is I went through the Lean Essentials Sprint, and it was fantastic. I loved it.
Good.
The thing that is really, and that, by the way, costs a little bit of money. I don't want to, I forget exactly how much it is, but
it's
you can go
10 weeks. But
IdahoSBDC.org and find that out. But it's absolutely worth it. And watching people come into that and say, "Oh, I've got this. It's fine. I've got it all figured out. It's done." And then the assignments of, no, go get 30 more people. Now 30 more people. Now 30 more people. And just all these people reaching out to their potential customers, and finally the light coming on. Oh, it's not what I thought it was. And then they get to the end of it, and you have to take them through the valley of despair, right? Oh no, I have a bad idea, but don't worry, you can change your idea. Well, I've changed my idea. Oh, now it's better. Now the people love me. Oh, now I can't wait to get started. Right. So many people stop halfway through that class and are very angry about it, because we've told them that their baby was ugly. But the people who stick through it and get to the end,
they discovered their baby was ugly.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is they may not believe it if they only get halfway through. We've helped them improve their baby.
Maybe.
I'm going to stick with that. By the time they get to the end, they realize the hidden value add of their
Well, it takes a village.
Exactly.
To raise that baby.
Yes, exactly.
So all that is to just to go back to your original question that I think you asked half an hour ago, which is about marketing. A lot of people who want to start a business are either people in it from the business point of view, that they want to be the next,
Amazon,
I'm trying to think
or
of
Google, or no.
Exactly, Amazon, Facebook, or whatever.
The next famous person who made a lot of money on an idea.
Exactly.
There you go.
Or they're an inventor who doesn't think about it in terms of business. If I just make this perfect product, it'll work out. By taking them through this, blind spots. I'm repeating myself.
You just have to have a really solid go-to-market strategy. And if you don't have a go-to-market strategy, but you want to go to market, you're likely not going to succeed if you haven't thought through everything.
Exactly.
But Ray, it's a great idea.
It's always going to cost you more than what you think, right?
Always.
Amen, sister.
Oh, and I'm sure it's a really great idea, but is it practical? Is it efficient? Is it going to work?
But you say that, but there are just as many people who come that think, man, I would never be able to do this. It's just too hard for me. And those are the people that we wish would reach out to us, because sometimes it's not as hard as you think. Sometimes, we need to encourage some people that are just not ready to take those first steps. So by all means, IdahoSBDC.org. Come on out and click that red button in the upper right-hand corner and ask for an appointment.
What is the current statistic of how long businesses succeed, or I don't want to say fail, but I mean, what's the churn rate now these days?
Oh, I don't.
It kind of depends on who you ask. The different groups, run these stats all the time. The ones that were recently in Entrepreneur Magazine, we're right in line with what we expect. Greater than 90% of technology startups fail or never make enough revenue to cover their investment. Right,
and that's usually the first year or 2 years. Of
90%.
It's.
But that doesn't take into account that the average person that has a very successful business has started 20 companies. Right. So a lot of people will come into us. They'll try it once. It'll fail, and then we'll never see him again. And that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah. To be a serial entrepreneur, so that way if one business fails, you've got 5 others.
Exactly.
And that's just it. And it's having the confidence to go forward and being humble enough to say, I need some help, because I did it this way last time. It didn't work. So help me find the other one.
Yep.
I have a when we're doing LES, I always meet the entrepreneurs for the first time.
That's Lean Essential Sprint.
The Lean,
Yes,
Lean
yes.
Essential Sprint. I always say there's two types of entrepreneurs: the ones that are humble and the ones that are about to be. And that's the two buckets they fall into.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
eventually you'll get there.
Another thing that I did through the SBA, and I think you guys are still doing, is the Emerging Leaders Program.
Yeah, you're right that is the SBA. That's not the SBDC.
Not the SBDC.
So
Okay.
we don't put that on, but it is a really interesting program that has been going for a long time, and it's helped a lot of people.
So you did it. So what did you like about it? What was like your favorite part of it?
Well, it was great meeting the other entrepreneurs who were part of our mentoring group, and I'm still friends, like really good friends with.
You still
a few of
mentor
them
each other
today.
and still work together?
Yeah,
That's
all
awesome.
the time. That program, I mean, even though we were, they had homework and book work to do, I really think that the mentoring from the other entrepreneurs was so vital. And then they brought in other experts, like Kim was there, and that's why I kind of thought maybe we're all tied in together. But just bringing in like financial experts and all the resources that you need as an entrepreneur. And even though I had been in business for 10 years, it was still great to go through this program and see what I needed to tweak, see what I needed to do better, how I could do things differently, my hiring practices, my firing practices.
Hopefully not a lot of practice.
Not a lot of practice of that, yeah. But it just, a lot of the different things that you do every day, but you just don't maybe recognize what you're doing when you're in the moment, but then like thinking through it before you do, or make your plan and goals and all of that. So,
the SBDC provides mentoring. Then you have organizations like that where you can get additional mentoring from other. Basically, go out and find mentors. Find some. The best athletes in the world have coaches. So why would you think your business is different? Get coaches, get mentors, get helpers.
You mentioned SCORE earlier. Great place to find mentors. Love those guys. Absolutely great idea.
Yeah, it's a bunch of retired guys that can tell you what they think, and it's
gals.
up to you, guys and gals, to see if you follow their advice or not. But it's up to you, obviously. But they can give you some really good, lessons from the trenches that they experience too.
One thing before we jump off this subject about the SBA's Emerging Leaders Initiative, I want to make sure that our listeners aren't led astray. There's a lot of things that you can come to the SBDC for before you're even starting your startup, right?
Yes.
The early stage stuff. The Emerging Leaders Initiative is not necessarily for startups. It's for companies that have been around for at least 3 years and have revenues of at least $250,000 and have at least one employee beyond the founder. So this is a great thing to aspire to if you're starting now, but you can't like walk in the doors and go right to it. You have to do some work first.
And you have to make a pretty significant commitment to it.
Yeah.
I think if I remember right, it was like 10 months long, and there's some good homework to do, and I still use a lot of the things that I learned. So it's absolutely a good one too. And tell me about some of the people who do use the SBDC now. Sure. Yeah.
Well, to bring it back to what I do, there's a lot of technology. Technology can take all kinds of different forms.
Yeah.
There's a government grant program out there called the SBIR program, Small Business Innovation Research, and it's been around since Reagan's time. And it's basically every standing United States federal agency with a standing budget of more than $1 billion has to set aside at least 3.5% of their overall budget to fund small businesses to innovate solutions to their technology problems. And that means Department of XYZ, anything you can think of, Department of Defense, Transportation, Energy, anything, NASA, they have to set aside a certain amount of money in the billions of dollars, right? And all of that money is set aside to go to small businesses if those small businesses just know that it's there and apply,
and
right?
can navigate the system to get there, right?
Exactly.
Nice.
Well, Dave, is there support for navigating that system?
Well, that's an excellent question, Dave.
Oh my gosh.
So Idaho has been lagging behind other states in that regard because, frankly, Idaho is a wonderful place to live, but it just doesn't have the financial base that a place like California or even Colorado might have, just because of the population, right? So a couple of years ago, the SBDC decided to really focus on that, and they brought me in. They said, okay, we're getting 1 or 2 of these grants a year. We would like to see that go up, right? So they brought me in, and we realized relatively early on that the issue was not that we didn't have great technology companies. It was that the technology companies that we did have didn't know that the money was there. They didn't know the program existed at all. So I've spent the last 3 years traveling around and telling people about it and trying to get more applications. And our win rate has stayed about the same, but the total number of wins that we're getting is starting to creep up.
Yay.
And there is, knock on plasticized Formica, there is a chance that
you can write on.
that this will be the best year that we've had in the last 10.
Okay.
We've got a couple more months to get there, but there's a chance that the amount of money that we'll be bringing in from federal agencies to be spent on technology companies specifically in Idaho will set a high watermark. And so anyone out there that works at any company that is even remotely innovating anything can give me a call, and I will help you find the SBIR that's right for you, help partner you with a research institution if that's what you need, help fill out your stable of experts, get you PhDs or whatever you need to do to do your research. And then we have people all through the SBDC who are great with commercialization programs. David does that quite a bit. You know, I'm making a new thing. How can I take my technology to market? We can handhold you all the way through that process. And you know, I'm a technical writer from way back. I can help you, you know, create a great application. If you get some of that money, I would love to see.
Awesome.
I would love to see those technology companies get a little more cash to bring some of that innovation, that technology, that's Silicon Valley Midwest, I guess,
Right?
Intermountain West,
Pacific Northwest.
The corridor, the technology corridor, whatever
exactly.
you want to
So
call it.
You can tell.
Anyone
you can tell
can
Dave's a little enthusiastic about
I
this.
love this
love
program.
it. Yeah.
Anybody can reach out to me, Dave McEwen at boisestate.edu. Come to the IdahoSBDC.org website and click the button and just ask, and I'll handhold you all the way through the process.
Very cool.
And like a phase one, right? A phase one grad is in the like $250,000, and if you get through that and to the end of it and get to phase two, you're into the millions.
Wow.
So it is not small money. And even if you go through the process and you apply and you don't get one, the Idaho SBDC gives away something called a phase zero grant, which gives you $3,000 for just applying.
Oh, wow.
So up to the first 12 in any given fiscal year. So all of this, you get help from me, and you get, you know, if things go well, you get money from me for applying, and if the application goes well, you get big money to create a brand
Free
new product
money.
and take it to market. Oh my God!
Yeah, free money, not so free, but free money.
Yeah, and it's
I love
remarkable that folks don't know about
Yeah.
that type of resource or that type of money that's out there. So it's
David and I went on the road this year. We've been to some small places in Idaho, but we've
you more than me.
yeah.
You have gone out there with the microphone to record folks
Yes.
out in the middle of nowhere.
exactly.
Yeah.
When you find yourself in a suburb of Salmon, there's not much there. But there's a technology company that's making goat milking stations that ended up being very, very successful.
Very
So-
productive.
Great. Yeah. Very
exactly.
productive, yes.
Anyway,
Well, tell me, since you brought up that you're recording, tell me about your podcast and what you're doing and where you can find it.
So go ahead, Dave, because it's your baby.
I'm gonna. If you hand the ball to me, I'm gonna take
It
it.
was our baby.
So
Idaho BizCast.
exactly, the Idaho BizCast is put on by the Idaho SBDC, and it exists to help the small businesses of Idaho with advice, events, anything having to do with small businesses in the state of Idaho. You can come and we will bring people on every week. People like yourself, hopefully in the
Yeah.
upcoming weeks. We're big fans.
love
Love
to.
to have you on the show.
Huge fans. Go Nanooks.
And we always will. When we started, we said, okay, we want to expand our reach across the state in a way that just getting in a van and driving to McCall, you know, it's a little too targeted. So we decided we're going to invest a little money, get some microphones, and put out this. This podcast as kind of a test, and then all of our downloads and everything has greatly exceeded what our goals were.
Good.
So we continued it for the remainder of that particular calendar year, and I think it's been very successful. But we've had some really fantastic people on. We've had on a lawyer who wanted to talk about IP law, and we went a year with him. A year?
Wow.
We went an hour with
It was
him.
a very long
Wow.
conversation. But
We're actually still talking.
And it's actually a great base. And this was the intent of creating that content, was
Yeah.
to provide reusable content that we could say, if you want to know about IP for small
Right.
business, listen to Brad Fraser
Yep.
from Holly Troxel talk about this on Idaho BizCast.
Yep, second
Right.
week of January, and people can go find it and listen to it. Last week we had on an FBI agent.
Special agent,
Wow. Excuse me.
Clark Harshbarger.
Idaho's special agent, I guess, having to do with cybersecurity, and learned all about the FBI and specifically what he does to help Idaho small businesses in the area of cybersecurity. Very, very interesting. And every week, every couple of weeks, depending on how, what our publication schedule is and how motivated we are, we have somebody else on that can teach you something about something that has to do with your business.
And it's either somebody who's a specialist in a particular thing like law or IP or being an FBI agent, but also successful small businesses.
Yep.
Right.
Dave's gone around and interviewed some successful small businesses from all over the state. You can learn about donuts. You can learn about hotels. You can learn about all kinds of stuff that successful Idaho entrepreneurs have created. and how they did it and what they found and what they discovered and their journey more than anything else, which is really fun.
Beyond that, there's also a lot of helpful things out there.
Yep.
Beyond just the examples themselves, we interviewed people from the Department of Commerce and the environmental regulatory agencies that are within the SBDC. Coming up in a couple of weeks, we have people from the Rexburg Business. What's it called? The Business Innovation.
We sat there and talked to them.
No, Business and Research Center.
Yeah.
In Rexburg.
Good job.
He almost pulled a muscle.
I got to stretch a little bit. But so it's not just examples of people who have done good things. It's other people that you could then go reach out to that are
Resources
beyond
to
us.
help and get
Exactly.
information from
Like
that you might
having
need.
you on in a couple of weeks,
I would be happy
Indeed.
to.
Or the
Yeah, I wanna talk
Ketchum
about marketing.
Innovation Center we had on. A number of folks.
All
who
kinds
talked.
of neat stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, okay, we're going to wrap up here soon.
That's the
but
Idaho BizCast.
Idaho BizCast. And you
At
can go
Idaho
to...
BizCast is our Twitter feed.
There you go.
And you can email us at idahobizcast.boisestate.edu. Is that right?
Idaho BizCast at boisestate.edu.
Isn't that what I said?
There's only one dot.
Oh, it's too many dots. Idaho BizCast at
You'll have to download
boisestate.edu.
our podcast and listen to find out.
There you go.
Oh, it's top secret.
And we also
That's
always
right.
go over time. I don't know if that's pretty obvious, but we have no
We're
problem
getting
filling up
close,
the
but
time.
Rhea
we're
says
good.
she's going to keep us on time.
And I am.
We haven't
doing
even talked
good.
about 80s music.
Oh,
or
no.
movies.
Are you an 80s music fan?
You know, I could be 80s, maybe, mid to late 80s, early 90s, right?
Okay.
So, okay.
When was getting bad?
Well, what's your favorite 80s song?
I don't have any favorite 80s songs
No,
because the
okay.
80s was sort of a dearth of
Dark movies.
And he can go
Yeah.
jump off a bridge for all I care.
60s and 70s.
I think 83 was the best
90s.
year for music in a long, long time.
What inspired it in 1983?
The Police, Van Halen. There's a lot of Michael Jackson that came out that year. Absolutely, it was a great year for music.
All people that existed prior to the 80s. Okay, so nothing new from the 80s. Got it.
So it's when they peaked, David.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that's been a long time for you. So
All right, one last thing I want to hear from
No.
either one of you.
there's
I
gotta be
know.
so much more.
I know.
Okay.
I want to
Yes,
hear a success story. Somebody that has come to the SBDC that they said that you can talk about, that has utilized your services, has gone through some of the processes that you've got. I want to know what happened. Where are they now? What can we learn from that story?
Sure. There is a technology company that's right downtown Boise called Idaho Scientific. Dale Reese, if you're familiar with.
No.
He's a great guy. He is and they're doing work with the Department of Defense, so I'm going to kind of
Okay.
self-filter, self-center.
Are you sure the FBI won't be after us
Just
after
make it
this?
sound cooler. Just make it sound cooler than what it really is.
He's one of these guys that thinks in ones and zeros. He's just a brilliant engineer, and he focuses on
Idaho Scientific.
Idaho
Okay.
Scientific. He focuses, and his company, they focus on tangible technology for security for technology devices that humans actually interact with. So imagine that you've got some giant piece of military equipment that launches
Missiles.
rockets, shall we say, right?
Okay.
There's the security aspect of it, someone can get in and hack it, but then there's also the keypad right there on the actual
The
thing.
device itself.
And that's kind of where their technology goes in, the part where the human interacts with the machine. They do that, and I think that's on their website, so I'm not saying anything new there. They were doing very well for a while, and they came to us and said, we've been doing this SBR thing for a while, and they were actually split off from another company that had been doing that, and they've become a regular client of ours, and they
A
have,
regular user.
exactly. And they have
They're
just,
addicted. That's great.
they have just won their second or third or perhaps even fourth SBIR grant over the last several years,
good.
and they are growing by leaps and bounds. They moved into a brand new data center right across the street from the Grove Hotel, so they're looking down over that
Oh,
that intersection
nice.
right in downtown
Yeah.
Boise, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. I mean, these are people who work really hard, and it's a success story because it would be so easy for a technology company like that to get plucked out of Idaho by a place in Silicon Valley or North
Right.
Carolina or Boston. I'm glad that they decided to stay. And I think
Good.
it has to do with their name, because it'd be weird for Idaho Scientific to be in the Bay Area.
Utah.
I think you're right.
But
yeah.
but yeah, great guys, and it's been a pleasure to work for them and watch them succeed.
That's awesome. Great story. What about you, David? Do you have any?
So there's
share?
a lot that I get. We always talk about House of Design, and
Yep.
so that was
yeah.
one at our accelerator. They had 3 engineers who came in, designed robots, and now they're over 50 employees. They just built their own facility
And
over
they make
in
shoes
Nampa.
with Keen, right?
They
have
made
robot.
shoes with Keen.
Yeah.
They do robots that do agriculture, and a lot of it was around supply chain and marketing and sales. Another one is the company that just moved up here from California. They've been in Sun Valley and in California, just moved all of manufacturing up here. They're called LSI, Lubrication Sciences. They've been around for 60 years. They sell a product called dicronite, which is a dry lubricant that is on the Mars lander today.
What?
Yeah, they've been doing this work for quite some time, and we just moved all of manufacturing to Boise, Idaho. It's out in our accelerator in Nampa, and they do all the sales and marketing out here. They're about to sign a couple of new countries. They sell through various countries. So they use us for where do we move manufacturing? How do we do this? How do we set up our supply chain and our quality control and product production here? How do we do pick, pack, and ship for the inventory? And then how do we open up in other countries? And so we're helping them with all of those things. And they're putting more profit on the bottom line because we started working on their books and their margins and those sorts of things. So and they come visit me. It'll be very intense for a couple of weeks, and then I don't see them for a couple of weeks. So a lot of what we do at the SBDC is really at the client's desire. What do I need help with and what do I not need help with? Mm-hmm. And then they get an assignment, and it takes however long it takes. And then they come back when they're done with that sort of assignment, and they need check-in and those sorts of things. So we work with them on a variety of opportunities. In fact, we're talking to some folks too about potentially investing with the company. So we actually help pitch deck development, those sorts of things. So
5 words or less.
fun.
They can't read the entire slide when they're up there, right?
Yes.
I always say it's
Just
not a
one
matter
word.
of if you don't have technology work, it's just a matter of when.
Yes.
So you always have to be prepared, right?
Exactly.
Like a Boy Scout, always be prepared.
Yes.
Okay, so how do people get a hold of you if they are interested in the SBDC? Where do they go? What do they do?
So
What's the process?
IdahoSBDC.org. That's IdahoSBDC.org. Upper right-hand corner, request an appointment. They go up there, and immediately it triggers a lot of actions. One of them is a non-disclosure agreement so that we are under an NDA with whoever that client was. And that's the easiest way to get it. If you want to talk to Dave McEwen at boisestate.edu. I'm David McCauley at boisestate.edu, and you can get in touch with us either of those ways as well. And listen to Idaho BizCast on the podcast, your podcast delivery system of choice. And let's see, it's at Idaho BizCast.
At Idaho BizCast on Twitter, and you can also read it. You can listen to it right out of the browser there at IdahoSBDC.org in the resources tab.
All right, well, it's been fun with the double Daves. Well, David and Dave.
Duh.
Thank you so
and
much.
Ray, you're
going to
be on our podcast soon, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you're huge fans.
Thank you.
Go Nanook.
Go Nanook.
Oh, okay, Nanook. Well, okay, what is that all about?
Oh, you'll have to listen and find
I
out.
will
It's a
find
running
out.
joke from our podcast, but in essence, it is a celebration of the Nanook team from the University of Alaska in Fairbanks.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for coming all the way
Thanks
here
for
to
having us. Thank
you, Ray.
Nampa. This
Beautiful.
gets out there everywhere, but we appreciate it. And I'll be sure and check into your podcast next time. And yeah. Duh. All right. Thank you. And thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Ray.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Find more online at peppershock.com.